Namaskar बच्चों. Today we are going to revise our chapter, the last lesson. Take out your book and open the page number 2. Audit was born in 1840 and died in 1897. He was a French novelist and short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War during 1870 to 1871, in which France was defeated by the Prussia, which led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and the parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into the hand of the Prussia. Means the Prussia has won the districts of Alsace and Lorraine from France and captured them. Read the story to find out what effects this had on life at school. This story has been narrated in the first person. I is not the author, Alphonse, but he has narrated this story from a character of the story, Franz, a boy, a student of the school. Now, see, Franz, started for school very late that morning, and he was in a great fear. Dread means fear of scolding. What was the reason why he was afraid of scolding? Here the reason has been given, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would ask us the question on participles. Now there is a second character refers here, M. Hamel. Who was M. Hamel? M. Hamel was a teacher of French. He had taught them the participles and given them the homework to learn the rules of participles, and he was asked questions based on the participles. But French says that he did not know the first word about them, that he did not know anything about the rules of participles. For a moment he thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. He thought that instead of going to school to save himself from the scolding of M. Hamel, he should not go to school and bunk and spend the day out of doors, means bunk the school. It was, and he describes about the day. It was so bright. The day was very warm and bright. The birds were singing at the edge of the forest, the birds, and in the open fields back to the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling, means were doing exercises. And he further adds that all these things were much more tempting than the monotonous rules of participles and the rules of participles. But he says that that he had the strength to oppose what? Oppose the feeling of bunking the school. And he quickly went to school. When he passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. Now the question is, what was bulletin board? Bulletin board was the source of information for the people of Alsace. All their bad news for last 2 years they have get from from the bulletin board. What kind of news is? The lost battles, the draft, and the orders of the commanding officer. He thought to himself, I thought to myself, it means the French thought to himself without stopping, what can be the matter now? It is what can be the matter now refers to that why the people have gathered in front of the bulletin board. What was the news that has made the people gather in front of the bulletin board? Remember, what is the board gives an extract from the chapters and asks the questions. 4 questions from it, and each question is assigned with 1 mark. Take the example, what sort of extracts or how does the extracts appear in the question paper, and what sort of question has been asked. See the first paragraph. The first question can be, why was friends dread of scolding? So what will be the answer? The answer will be, the friends was dread of scolding because M. Hamel had given them the homework to learn the rules of participles, but he did not know the first word or anything about the rules of participles. Second, there is a question, what tempted friends to run away from the school? The question here it is that the bright and warm day, the singing of the birds, and the open fields at the back of the sawmills where the Prussian soldiers were drilling make him tempted to escape the school. Right? And the third question is, what did he have to resist? He had the strength to resist the feeling of skipping the school. Again, you come to this place. Suppose this has been given. This paragraph has been given. They can ask you, name the author and the lesson. Right? Second questions, where was bulletin board situated? Bulletin board was situated at the town hall. Right? What kind of news they were getting for the last 2 years? The lost battle, the draft, and the orders of the commanding officer. Explain what can be the matter now refers to. It refers that what were the reason that the crowd would have collected in front of the bulletin board. Then, friend says, then as I hurried by as fast as I could, the blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin board called after me. When he quickly went away from there, the blacksmith who was there with his student, reading the bulletin board called after him, don't go so fast, Bob means man or boy. You will get to your school plenty of time. You will get a lot of time to reach your school. I thought he was making fun of me, fun of friends, and he reached Mr. M. Hamel Little Garden out of breath. Out of breath means panting. Usually when the school begins, there was a great noise, bustle means noise, which could be heard out in the street, and the opening and the closing of the desks. Lesson repeated in unison, all together, very loud, with our hands over the ears to understand better. This is the scene of the school when it usually begins. The teacher's great ruler knocking, rapping on the table, but now he is describing the scene of the school that day. Now it was all so still. I had counted on. He said I had depended on the commotion, the noise, that he to get to my desk without being seen. He was dependent that there will be a lot of noise in the classroom, and he would enter in the classroom and reach to his desk without being noticed by the teacher. But of course that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. The school was very peaceful. The atmosphere of the school was very peaceful. Through the window, he saw his classmates already sitting in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his fearful ruler under his arms. And then what was the now condition? That the friends had to open the door and go to his desk in front of everybody. You cannot imagine now. He is addressing, the French is addressing to the students, to the readers, that now you cannot imagine how ashamed I feel, how embarrassed or ashamed I feel, and how frightened I was to enter into the classroom. He further added, but nothing had happened. M. Hamel saw him, friends, and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little friends. We were beginning the chapter without you." I jumped over my bench and sat down at my desk. Franz jumped over the bench and sat down at his desk. Not till then, when he had got a little over means control over my fright, over his fright, and then I see that our teacher, that Mr. M. Hamel, wore his beautiful green coat, his decorative shirt, frilled shirt, decorative shirt, and the little black silk cap, all decorated, that he never wore except on the inspection or the prize day. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and serious. Solomon means serious, but the thing that surprised me most was to see that the thing that surprised Franz most was to see that the back benches that always remain empty had been occupied by the village peoples. Village peoples were sitting quietly on them like the students. Old Hauser with three-corner hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, the several others beside, everybody looked sad. Hauser had brought an old primer. Primer is what? An alphabetical book, thumbed, folded at the edges of the pages, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. Say, now the question here is, one question arises from here. Do you think that blacksmith was making fun with friends? Second question is what? How does the usually begin? What was the atmosphere of the school that day? How had M. Hamel dressed that day? What was the strange in the school, in the class that day?